I'm Peter Lee, a Singaporean scholar of Peranakan descent, Chinese with a dash of Malay. I'm off on a new journey, searching for untold histories. This is so beautiful. It shows all the people that came through here. You could not use fake money, and you had to be nice to your servants. To explore how 4 distinct kingdoms rose and fell. On the Japanese Isles and the Korean Peninsula. Creating unique cultures and identities. Look at this. That still resonate today. Everything is based on really old designs. So the past and present all mixed up together. I'm on Japan's southernmost island chain, the Ryukyu Archipelago, on the island of Okinawa, in the capital, Naha. This is my first time here, and it's clean and well-ordered like the Japan I know. But there are some differences, like these beautiful palm trees. I feel like I'm in Hawaii. This is Kokusai Dori, or International Street. With 30 US bases stationed here, there's a palpable American vibe. And there's a local fusion snack I just have to try.
いらっしゃいませ。こちらへどうぞ。こんにちは。こんにちは。
This is really exciting. It's got so many things on the menu.
こちらの黄色い部分が卵ですね。で、下の方がスパム、ポークになっておりますね。
Oh my God, spam, magic word. I love it. I'll have that, please. What a treat. Wow. Look at this. It's like an onigiri reimagined as a sandwich with rice, egg, and spam. It is so good. A fantastic combination. 100% approve. The American influence on the island of Okinawa dates back to after World War II. But there are also reminders of an older heritage. This really reminds me of a Chinese guardian lion, but you see it everywhere, from shop fronts, signs to souvenirs. These protectors, called shisa, a mix between a lion and dog, were first introduced from China over 500 years ago to ward off bad spirits. A local artist who goes by Tensai or Genius Mitsuo is going to show me how they are crafted.
こっちに顔、ここですね。
Okay.
繊維同士が絡むようにガリ締めると。これは漆喰で繊維が見えますかね。黄色い部分はサンゴから取った石灰ですね。
I see.
そしたら口を開けましょう。ガオ。口が開いてるのがだいたいオス、閉じるとメスって言われてますね。いい感じですよ。
The material, it's soft, very wet, very malleable. Sort of getting to look like a four-legged mythical beast.
シーサーは沖縄では神様なんで自分で作るとは言わないんですよ。純粋な心で手を動かしてると次第に神様がそこに現れてくる。
Okay, so you must have the right attitude to make a good shisa. Next is the tail, which uses a piece of tile that's a link to the past.
もともとは家を作った時に出た割れた瓦とかで屋根を葺く職人さんが作ったのがスタートですね。垂直に立てますね。だいたい作った人に似ます。ヤッホー。
Getting the eyes round. And then it's gonna have nostrils just like mine. This is a mini me. Same. Yeah. It looks like quite a happy, slightly sleepy shisa. That's really me. I've grown up with the image of guardian lions, but they're so much more serious. Here, they're just fun and approachable. This is my kind of guardian deity. Okinawa is a friendly tourist destination today. But the remote island, on the western edge of the Pacific Ocean, was once a place of outcasts, castaways, and warlords. I'm interested to find out how society here evolved. About 1,000 years ago, the people here turned from hunting, fishing, and gathering to farming and built simple walls to protect their villages. Soon, local rulers called aji came to prominence and enclosed their households in larger stone walls. But before long, they were brought to heel by powerful overlords who built even larger fortifications as a testament to their supremacy. And this is the grandest of them all. Nakijin Castle was built in the 13th century, the stronghold of the powerful Ryukyu Kingdom. I'm getting special access to a storage vault with evidence of how people here lived at the time. My guide is resident archaeologist Yasushi Tamashiro.
これは中国の奥山の王様が使っていたと考えられるこれの破片になりますね。でこれぐらいになるやつですね。
So this is 600 years old, a beautiful celadon, and it still has the gloss. The interesting thing is you find very similar trade goods from China in Southeast Asia. And we even have shards in Singapore like this.
おそらくこれにお酒を入れて、これから注いで飲んでる。お酒にまつわる焼き物はたくさん出てますね。
Yeah, that's a lot of sake.
もう大酒飲みだったかもしれません。
Yeah. Even more fascinating is where their alcohol came from. This would have been a really big jar.
はい、タイの焼き物になります。
From the Ayutthaya period?
いえ、そうですね。
Wow. This is heavily potted. There's some weight here. Clearly this wasn't a showpiece.
これはこのコンテナで中に、お酒とか入れてきたようなことも言われていますね。沖縄のお酒がタイ米を使っているので、それの影響があるっていう考えられています。
I see. It's surprising how over 600 years ago, this island imported luxury ceramics like celadon from China and rice wine from Ayutthaya. This isolated island enjoyed trade with nations as far away as China and Thailand from as early as the 14th century. At the time, Okinawa was split into 3 kingdoms: Ryukyu to the north, Nanzan to the south, and Chuzan in the middle. Where it said an ambitious prince called Hashi teams up with northern Aji lords to overthrow Ryukyu in 1416. In 1429, he conquers the south, uniting the island for the first time as King Sho Hashi, first ruler of the Ryukyu Kingdom. Over the next decades, its territory expands, taking control of the islands north of Okinawa. The first nation to recognize and support the new kingdom was China. I'm on Kume Island, 90 kilometers west of Okinawa, to see how their powerful western neighbor became a crucial patron and trading partner. The rise of Ryukyu coincided with a time when China was at war with the Mongols. And it turned out Ryukyu was rich in 2 resources that they sorely needed. One was sulfur for making gunpowder, and the other was horses. Ryukyu's indigenous horses only grow to about 120 centimeters tall, and trace back 15 centuries to Mongolian breeds. They were once used by farmers to carry heavy loads and were said to number in the tens of thousands. But with less need for them these days, fewer than 200 remain on the islands.
It feels sort of naturally oily and smooth. Do they like being brushed?
はい、やっぱりかけないところをやってあげると馬はすごく喜ぶ。
Fukutaro Inoue runs a local horse farm working to protect these animals.
小さい馬ではあるんですけど、すごくタフで、かつては物の運搬だったり、戦争に連れて行かれたり、今はもうそういう用途が一切ないので、観光をメインで考えていて、役割を与えることで、残していけたらというところで活動しています。
They are also keeping alive the use of a traditional bridle called a muge.
昔沖縄は鉄が取れないんで、木を削り出して作った農具で、欧米で使うハミと違ってやっぱ口の中に物を入れないんで、馬にとってストレスが少ないっていうところでこだわって使ってます。
Mugi-chan, you're so gentle. They're giving off really good vibes.
It seems an ideal time for a ride.
耳がいい生き物なので、声をかけるとやっぱり人の方に集中してくれる。いろんな声かけをしてあげるのがいいと思います。
So the trick is basically to douse them with tender, loving care, brush them, talk to them, and they'll be your friend forever.
And finally, it's time to put our new bond to the test.
This feels wonderful. She's very gentle. What a wonderful experience.
And as island horses, there's nothing more natural than finishing off with a quick dip.
Here goes. This is like a horse ride and spa and a swim all at once. This is the life.
I'm Peter Lee, and I'm in Japan's southern edge, exploring the shallow reefs around the Ryukyu Archipelago's Kume Island, for evidence of how, in the 15th century, the Ryukyu Kingdom grew into a trading power.
It's so clear and beautiful here.
海底遺跡って呼ばれる場所になってまして、水深が5メートル未満のところにこの15世紀初頭のタイムカプセルが一隻ここには埋もってるっていう状況になります。
Archaeologist Akihiro Sunagawa is an expert in these waters that harbor traces of the Ryukyu Kingdom's early dealings with China, down in the remains of a sunken treasure ship. The vessel may be long gone, but we're looking for pieces of its cargo.
So tell me what you found.
これはですね、中国の方で焼かれた、青磁碗になります。赤っぽいところが全てサンゴになっておりまして、でただこの真ん中のこの部分だけは土の部分が見えている状態になっています。
And then some remnant of, as you say, it's a celadon glaze, and it's all crackled. Are there lots of them?
はい、商品として当時持ち込まれているっていうことが考えられてるんですけど、おそらく何百何千と散らばっています。
This is such an incredible find. Here I am surrounded in paradise. It's like a holiday resort. And at the same time, there's so much history just below the surface. 600 years ago, ships sailed through exactly these waters. It would have looked just like this. And here I am now.
This research of Ryukyu's exchanges with China is just the tip of the iceberg, because it was the first journey of a massive trading network. It began with a week's crossing from Ryukyu to Fujian in southern China, made aboard some 30 trading junks that were a gift from the Chinese. Measuring some 40 meters long and 30 meters tall, they carried as many as 300 men or more, and were some of the most formidable ships of the time. From China, they traveled southwest, down to Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, where they would stock up on local spices, wood, and elephant tusks, to exchange back in the north for Chinese porcelain, fabrics, and medicines, or Japanese lacquer, fans, and weapons, ready to carry back down south to sell for a massive profit. None of this would have been possible without the Ryukyu Kingdom's relationship with the Chinese, which was about more than material exchanges.
China at that time was a superpower that produced some of the world's most coveted goods and enjoyed leverage to match. To trade with it meant sending tribute in the form of expensive gifts, a privilege regularly withdrawn from those that displeased it. But the reward was immense wealth, and one of China's most favored nations was the tiny Ryukyu Kingdom.
By bending its knee to China as its vassal state, the Ryukyu Kingdom grew from a backwater island into a trading powerhouse of about 100,000 people that regularly saw the world's luxury items pass through its shores. But some of the most sought-after goods were also made here. This is the over 500-year-old art of bingata. It's a unique way of dyeing fabrics that I've heard about for many years.
この図柄に関しては船の帆ですね、交易をするために東南アジア、バティックとかそれからインカ風中国、そこから技術を見て沖縄独特のこの技法に持ってきている。ですから沖縄にない植物とかそういったものがいろいろ図案として生かされている。
The Ryukyu Kingdom's frequent exchanges with faraway lands in the 15th century gave rise to these amazing designs and its unique method, which veteran bingata maker of 50 years, Sachiko Yafuso, will watch me try. It starts off with a stenciled design.
The brown areas have been blocked out, so the first step is to apply color to these bits in between the brown. I'm applying with this really neat brush, very short hairs. So place it vertically and just use a circular motion. And because there's already this paste resist, I don't have to be too careful, which makes it much less stressful.
気をつけて。ここまで。大丈夫大丈夫。
I became too enthusiastic and painted over areas I shouldn't have. And Sensei has fixed the problem by painting over the correct color. Luckily, it's similar, so it should be fine.
It wasn't just the motifs and techniques that were imported from various locations, but also some of the pigments, which are used in a way I've never seen before.
これでグラデーションをつけてメイキャップをする。最後ですので、美しく仕上げる美人に。
I can really see this beautification process. It really makes it outstanding, sort of alive. this is only achievable as a kind of painting technique. I think this is unique to bingata.
And the final result is exquisite.
There's a bit of Japan, there's a bit of India, Java, everything coming together to something so uniquely Ryukyu.
The art of bingata, inspired by foreign fabrics traded across the region, was perfected at the hands of the Ryukyu people, and was so fine that it was also shipped to China as a tribute good.
Textiles were a major commodity as they were highly transportable and in much demand. And Ryukyu was very much part of this global trade. Bingata cloth is a perfect example of how various materials and methods traveled along shipping lanes and inspired local artisans to come up with something utterly unique that now represents the region's identity.
Just across Naha town is another unique example of a lesser-known Ryukyu tradition. Hiroki Shimabukuro is a young cafe owner who is rediscovering a special beverage called Bukobukuti.
いった白米でいった玄米で三品茶ジャスミンティーです。であと香水の硬いお水この4つが原料になります。
Bukobukuti was made to welcome Chinese emissaries who were VIPs of the state. It uses an unusual combination of rice broth infused with jasmine tea.
It's very fragrant. You have a similar thing for the Japanese matcha green tea ceremony, but this is 3 times larger and the whisk as well. It's huge. Wow. Yeah, it's really popping up.
While the scented foam is set aside to dry out and stiffen, there's time to prepare a nice cup of brown rice tea. And after that comes a true test of skill.
So just
このまま
in
はい
the foam like this, and then tap.
上から叩く。そうです。
Tap
Yes.
against your finger and
Okay,
try
yes.
and make a nice round shape.
OK です。
I'd like to imagine I've created a beautiful cloud.
お待たせしました。
Wow, it looks so good.
The name Bukobuku derives from the words foamy and lucky.
Here goes.
ついてついてますついてます。
This is really good. Have I got some on my
Okay,
nose?
that's good.
Okay. I feel blessed with good luck. Bukobuku good luck. It's a really nice flavor. And then the foam, yeah, it's quite sensory and sensuous. This is what tea drinking should be. Have a laugh and feel blessed.
Boosted by their special relationship with China, the Ryukyu Kingdom flourished into the 16th century. And the base of the ruling Shou family was here at Shuri Castle. Sadly, the palace complex burned down in 2019, the 5th major fire in its history. Rebuilding is underway, but other areas of the former grounds still stand. I've got access to the royal mausoleum, built by a legendary king, to cover up a terrible truth, that his father was a usurper to the Ryukyu throne.
In 1477, King Shoshin ascended the throne when he was just a boy. His father was not originally of the royal bloodline, but actually a former state treasurer. Tama Udon, or royal mausoleum, was built in 1501 to conceal this fact.
While King Shoshin presented an unbroken line of succession, it was the start of what historians call the Second Shou dynasty that would take the Ryukyu Kingdom to new heights. To be an effective ruler, the new king first needed to consolidate his power by bringing Okinawa's old religion under his command. I'm in Japan's southern Ryukyu Islands, tracing the rise of a once independent kingdom. Making a pilgrimage to Sepha Utaki, Okinawa's most spiritual site, where one of the island's first forests was created by a goddess. Utaki denotes a sacred place where prayers are made, such as a grove, mountain, or cave. And this was where King Shoshin sought to legitimize his authority over the island and its people.
こっちがウフグイといってですね、こう水を汲んできてここに3回身を清めるお水で。
So people would purify themselves before going further.
そうです。
86-year-old Kazuo Yabiku comes from a family of local priestesses called Noro, who once walked this holy path that was reserved for women. Before long, we've arrived at the second stop.
ここが遊園地といってですね、こっちはもう雨乞いとかお祈りするところ。スリ上では炊事場だけど。
The same name as Shuri Castle. So they were linked by these common names.
はい、同じ名前。
King Shoshin used names to link this site to his base at Shuri Castle. To draw on the spiritual authority of this, our third and final stop, called the Sangui.
It's architectural, it's quite dynamic.
ノロは天からの声が聞かれて言うのを全部正しいということで、だからそのぐらい権利が強かったっていう。男より女の方が上なんです、沖縄は。今でも地元の男の人が入れないところがあります。
While men saw to administrative matters, women had the crucial role of communing with the gods to ensure peace and prosperity.
You know, this triangle, there is sort of a reference to the womb. In really all cultures, nature is associated with the mother figure, the maternal, the feminine. So this space really makes sense.
To centralize his hold over the people's hearts and minds, King Shoshin appointed female officials to oversee religious rites across his lands. And at Shuri Castle, raised his own sister to the new position of High Priestess, cementing his family as the ultimate rulers of the Ryukyu Kingdom. In 1500, war breaks out to Okinawa's west, between the Miyako and Yaeyama Islands. King Shoshin sends 3,000 soldiers to stop the fighting, bringing them both under his rule. Thereafter, he enacts a new law, forcing all local Aji lords to move to Shuri Castle, where he adopts an unusual system of denoting court hierarchy with differently colored headwear. King Shoshin's decisive policies saw him rule for 50 years, an era celebrated as the Ryukyu Kingdom's golden age. I'm visiting the Okinawa Museum to see a priceless record the king had made.
Wow.
Curator Kyoko Sakihara is showing me a 300-year-old copy of a collection of songs first compiled 500 years ago, called the Omoro Soshi.
首里の印というふうに押されています。
Yeah, it looks very much like Chinese imperial seals as well. So this is commissioned by the royal family.
そうですね。で聞こえ大君のおもろって書いていますので、聞こえ大君というと琉球王国の中の一番最高位の神女になります。国の豊穣とか安泰とかそういうのを願ったり、おもろという言葉自体もやはり思いから変化した言葉になっています。
It's very interesting that the oldest documents are often this sort of very spiritual kind of chanting and singing. It shows that these kinds of songs had deep spiritual importance and obviously national importance as well.
Its verses offer us a rare glimpse of life at the time.
21、これが久米島のおもろになるんですが、東雨の船、銭に黄金、その次に大和の船も銭、黄金を持ち寄っているということが書かれています。
So it's a reference to the trade between Ryukyu and China and Japan.
そうですね。
So is the Ryukyu language related to Japanese?
関連はしています。沖縄はウチナーというふうに呼ばれます。
So Okinawa pronounced in the local language would be Uchina.
はい。
These songs, compiled from across its lands, helped to bind the old Ryukyu Kingdom together. And music still unites these islands in the modern day. This is the sound of the sanshin, dubbed the soul of Okinawa, that first grew popular here 500 years ago. Muneo Machida is a craftsman of this banjo-like instrument.
Really beautiful wood. It's ebony. It's a very, very dense wood, hard to carve. Termites didn't like this wood, so it lasted a long time. But this is the first time I've heard it being used for an instrument.
With the neck done, it's time to cover what they call the head.
Oh, wow. Snake skin.
はい、ニシキヘビの皮ですね。
Python. Oh my goodness. Wow, it's really thick. It's like rubber.
Yes, yes.
Why python skin?
三線は中国から初めに伝わってきたんですけども、その時からニシキヘビの皮が使われていた。で、それがずっと変わってないっていうところですね。これははい。弾力があります。はい。まあ匂い臭いですけどね。
Oh yeah. Oh, kind of a fishy smell.
The snake skin is pulled over a wooden frame to make something like a drum.
Wow. So here it is, both sides stretched. So it's quite a very, very taut sound.
叩いても音がパンと表に出るような感じになりますね。
Yeah, as we speak, I can feel it vibrate. It's like a living instrument.
Sanshin means 3 strings, and its sound made a deep impression.
Wow, I love it.
ピーターさんこれちょっと持っていただいて。
It's traditionally played with a piece of ox horn.
こうですね。
I see.
はい。爪をこう。で。
I see. Interesting. So the sound is from plucking it a certain way. You don't strum it like a guitar. So it's very crisp, kind of hard sound actually. But it echoes, so that softens it back again.
Whoa.
That was terrible.
Although originally popular among Ryukyu's elite, the sanshin is today a people's instrument, said to be found in every home and brought out for festivities of all occasions. Thank you. While overseas trade brought unimaginable prosperity to the islands, storm clouds were on the horizon as new visitors made their way to these waters.
The 16th century was a time of great change when Europeans started to venture ever further across the world's oceans. The first to arrive in Asia were the Portuguese, who were granted a foothold in China in 1557. This was bad news for the Ryukyu Kingdom, whose wealth and standing were founded on their privileged access to Chinese goods.
The arrival of European traders drained the islands of their financial lifeblood. Before long, the weakened kingdom found itself the target of another threat from the north. In 1590, Japan's new conqueror, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, orders Ryukyu to supply enough grain for him to invade China. But with trading ties to both nations, King Shone doesn't respond for 2 years. As a result, in 1609, 100 ships and 3,000 soldiers attacked the island nation in the name of Japan's new Tokugawa shogun. I'm in Naha, the Ryukyu Islands' capital city, looking for a lesson in self-defense.
Okinawa is known among martial arts aficionados as the birthplace of karate. But today, I'm going to learn more about its lesser-known cousin that still made a big contribution to world culture.
Kobudo enjoys a dedicated following among locals of all ages. While karate famously uses the bare fist, this martial art uses a stunning array of weapons, including the iconic nunchuck, with a surprising origin story as a horse bit.
お前顔長いでしょ。こっちをくっついて、これ紐で引っ張ってこれを外して、これにヌンチャクにチェンジしたという説があるんです。
I see.
これ馬向けてるんですよ。これは馬についてたね面影で、沖縄では無限ヌンチャクと言ってます。
This is really fascinating that this horse's bit ended up being this famous weapon.
やっぱり沖縄では農作業からねやった武器が多いもんで、先輩方からはそういう説を聞いて指導してますんでね。
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is not how I see it on film.
映画ではもうスイングだけでしょ。スイングだけ。近寄ったら締めたり入れたりする。こうやったりする。
Yeah, so it's a very versatile weapon.
はい。
To trace the roots of Kobudo, Master Masahiro Kinjo has amassed a large collection of old tools. And the next lethal implement is a horseshoe.
これは鉄鋼です。これ馬の蹄ね、こう棒入れてこう。これが鉄鋼の始まりじゃないかと聞いてます。
So this is really surprising that these knuckle dusters were actually upcycled from horseshoes. But there's one item here that's surprisingly familiar to me.
これがね、トンファ。これが昔の原型ですけども、これからどんどん発展していってこういう素晴らしいトンファができたと。これはもうね、こう振ってこう。
Wow. This is exactly like the handle for a stone mill. And we call it a batu bow. Back home, you would turn it like this. And to think it becomes this really cool killer weapon. So exciting. It seems like if you can use all these, anything can be a weapon.
はい。
And now, to master my weapon of choice.
Yes, 45. はい。45. Okay. はい。Like this. Okay. 45 attack. Block. So you're right. Yeah.
Kobudo is said to incorporate influences from China and Southeast Asia. Like karate, there's speculation it caught on because of a weapons ban enforced by the invaders.
The beautiful thing about it is that it makes so much sense. It's really ergonomically designed. I just love handling it, and to think that I have something like this in my kitchen, so intruders beware. Ha! 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 Hey!
The invasion in 1609 gave Japan access to Ryukyu's Chinese goods. But there was an unexpected problem. The fact had to be kept top secret, or China might abandon their trade with Ryukyu altogether. In the early 17th century, in an unexpected move, any expression of Japanese culture was outlawed. Ironically, giving room for Chinese influence to spread. A period that's encapsulated by the Shisebyo Confucius Temple.
This temple was a gift from the Qing Emperor to the local Chinese families who had facilitated trade for centuries. It's dedicated to the sage Confucius and was built 350 years ago, which was also about the time that Confucianism became dominant. What's fascinating is how they adopted a wide range of Chinese cultural influences to forge a separate national identity from their invaders.
Ryukyu's cultural shift away from Japan and towards China is responsible for much of the Chinese influences seen today, including the beloved shisa. The Ryukyu Kingdom continues to operate semi-independently for another 250 years, until 1879, when an ailing China emboldens Japan to send 600 of their soldiers into Shuri Castle. King Shotai is forced to abdicate, ending the Ryukyu Kingdom's 450-year rule. For the last 150 years, the Ryukyu Islands have been a part of the Japanese nation, leading to a decline in some of its traditional culture. But a new generation is looking to change that.
I think these tattoos on your hands look sensational.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about them?
These are traditional hajiti tattoos. My first of came across hajiti just looking at Pinterest. You know Pinterest?
Yes.
I didn't know hajiti, so I asked my father, and your great grandmother, she has it.
Moeko Hirashiki is an artist of mixed Ryukyu and Japanese descent who is rediscovering the tradition of hajiti tattoos that were banned by the Japanese as barbaric and nearly lost.
これはアマン、ヤドカリっていう意味で、人間はヤドカリから生まれたっていう言い伝えがあるくらいで、どの島にもデザインとしてあります。This is my hajiti account. 一番人気はこれですね。この五つ星。星の意味なので、自分をこう正しい場所に導いてくれるっていうような感じですかね。
They're drawn from nature and they have these wonderful geometric shapes. What sort of people would get hajiti?
通過儀礼としてその女性たちの中で行われていて、私みたいに沖縄のアイデンティティとして入れる人もいますし、沖縄の人じゃなくてもいたりとか、本当にいろんな人がいるんですけど。
Although tattoos are becoming more popular globally, it still remains largely taboo in Japan, where it was once linked to criminality. But these age-old motifs are slowly reappearing. Just another sign of how traditional Ryukyu identity still lives on, almost 150 years after the kingdom's downfall.
1,000 years ago, the inhabitants of the Ryukyu Islands found themselves in the middle of a thriving trade corridor, which they used to amass unprecedented wealth and prestige. While the diplomacy they used to forge ties near and far also helped them survive on the edge of two of the region's most dominant powers, the balancing act of shaping their identity in the face of new influences and changing times is an unending dance, continued by their modern descendants today.
From its far-flung ocean setting, the islanders of the Ryukyu Kingdom used openness and shrewdness to build a colorful history, integrating the best that trade had to offer with deeply held practices to create a distinct culture that's finding renewed expression in modern times.